I recently talked to a friend who failed the PMP, and I definitely thought I just needed to throw a video out here about what actually makes people fail the PMP. You've spent months, maybe even a year, cramming every single process, every ITTO for the PMP exam. Your desk is a sea of sticky notes and all those other resources that you probably use to study. You literally dream in process groups, and you've probably quizzed yourself so much, you could probably recite the PMBOK backward at this point. You feel like you're ready. You've done the practice questions. But what if I told you that that number one reason people fail the PMP has nothing to do with the questions themselves? There's a hidden trap that most candidates fall right into, and chances are it's messing with your prep right now. It's a flaw that sits within your strategy, not within your knowledge. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that trap is and why it works so well against even the smartest people who are taking the exam, and how you can sidestep it completely to make sure that you walk out of that testing center with a passing score on your very first try. Let's be real. The thought of failing the PMP exam after all the work that you have to put into it is soul crushing. You've given up evenings, weekends, time with your family. You've probably invested hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in courses. So seeing that word fail on the screen, it feels like a personal attack, if anything. And it makes you question everything. Was I not smart enough? Did I not study hard enough? Did I miss the key chapter? And this is where the big misconception takes root. Most people fail automatically assume it was a knowledge gap. They think I didn't know the answers. So what do? They dive right into the books, trying to cram even more facts, processes. They try to get these flows and get their brain full of information that's already full, but they're treating the wrong illness. The brilliant, experienced, well studied project managers fail the PMP all the time. And the reason isn't what they know. The reason is that they fundamentally misunderstanding the game they're playing. They've been training for a marathon by only practicing sprints. So the real trap, the hidden reason so many people fail is this. You are trying to pass the PMP exam using your real world project management experience. And that is the single most dangerous thing you can do. Now, I know that sounds completely backward, right? How can my decades of running successful projects possibly be a liability? Here's why. The PMP exam, it doesn't actually take place in the real world. When I was training to go to Afghanistan, obviously I couldn't train everyone in Afghanistan-like conditions all the time. We were in North Carolina. It was hot and humid, not quite like the same conditions of Afghanistan, open desert. What we did though is we focused on what we called the basics. We focused on doctrinal ways of getting through IED strikes, through mortars, through gunfire, through ambushes. We practice in specific ways and we study those specific ways so that way when we got to the real world, we knew how to react, but then we adjusted it based off the doctrinal knowledge in the real world, what we were seeing on the ground. The same concept applies to your PMP exam. It doesn't take place in the real world. It takes place in PMI land, a perfect idealized world where every process is followed by the PMBOK. Every stakeholder is managed by the book, and every document is updated by the book. Your real world experience is messy. It's full of compromises, shortcuts, and good enough fixes that you had to make to get the job done. And I'm not bashing that. That is probably That is what makes project managers that people want on their teams. You had a boss who told you to do something and you got it done. This can even be to the point where you didn't build a full risk register for the small project you had. Now, as 44 risk PM, I'm judging you for that. But as a project manager, I got it. You don't always go through every step of the PMBOK to finish your project, especially if it's smaller in nature. What you did is you survived and you delivered value to your stakeholders. But in the world of the PMP exam, those real world solutions are almost always the wrong answer. And the fun thing is, they're going to put those wrong answers on the exam. The exam is built to test your knowledge of PMI's standardized framework that you see within the PMBOK and the other resources provided by PMI. When you read your scenario based questions, your brain instinctively flashes back to your own career. You tell yourself, oh, yeah, I've been here before. Here's what I did. And you confidently pick the answer that reflects your hard won, practical wisdom, but that answer is wrong. That isn't failure of intelligence, it's a failure of perspective. You're answering as you, the project manager, when you need to be answering as the ideal PMI project manager. Relying on your own personal experience is the trap. And most everyone falls into it without even realizing it. This one mistake can lead to two huge symptoms that can completely wreck any study plan and chances of PMP success. The first one is the fallacy around memorization. When you don't get that you need to adopt this PMI mindset, you're left without a solid philosophy to guide you. So, what do you do instead? You fall back on the only strategy you can think of: memorization. You try to memorize all 49 processes. You make flashcards for hundreds of ITTOs. You chant formulas hoping that they're going to stick in your head. But the catch is the PMP exam has very little to do with a vocabulary test. It looks, it's impressive at the PM happy hour party after work where you can cite all these definitions. But the PMP exam itself is situationally based, and it looks for that situational judgment on how you're going to react. The questions are scenario based. They're specifically designed to trip up people who have only memorized definitions. They'll give you a whole paragraph of information describing a project crisis, full of distracting details, and ask what the project manager should do next. And if you've only memorized, that the risk register is the output of identify risks, then you're going to get stuck when they ask you what's the next step in the process, or when they ask you, what does the project manager do next? You need to understand why it's created and how it's used within the entire PMI framework. Memorization, it's going to give you a dictionary of words, conceptual understanding. When the PMP needs poetry, it wants you to write poetry of what the concepts are for the PMP. By clinging to your real world experience, you don't see the need for deeper understanding. So instead, you retreat to the false comfort of memorization, and you're setting yourself up to be completely blindsided on exam day. The second huge symptom I see is a mindset trap around avoiding the full length exam simulators. You might do a bunch of 10 question quizzes on an app. You might even tackle some 50 question practice tests, but you avoid sitting down for the full 230 minutes to take 180 questions. Why? Well, because most people don't have time, or deep down, you find it kind of scary. It's a massive, draining experience, and it feels much safer to just practice in small bite-sized chunks. But for when you sit down to the PMP exam, it's not just a test of your knowledge. It's a test of your mental and physical endurance to sit there that long and take an exam with only 2 breaks in between your sets of questions. Failing to simulate this is like when I was running marathons. I never trained by running 3 miles at a time. I started small and worked my way up. And that allows you to prepare for game day or exam day to actually have the stamina to sit there and think through these hard questions for the entire time of the exam. Now, a great strategy for this is to break it up into 60 questions and then take a break, 60 questions, take a break, 60 questions, just like you would on the exam. I don't tell everyone they have to do the entire 180 through over 230 minutes. But I definitely say that you want to take 60 questions, take a break, go feed your kids, go get your mail, do whatever you have to do, then come back, sit down, do 60 questions. You want to simulate the best you can for the exam because whatever you do is going to help with your internal clock. Because when you only have a certain amount of time for each question, if you're not putting yourself in that situation to where you have to answer questions that quickly, you're going to burn 10 minutes on one tough question in the first section, not realizing you just forced yourself to rush through the last 40 questions in panic because you don't have enough time. Also, when you don't do this, just like I said, if I was running a marathon, I would get super fatigued halfway through. And same thing applies to this exam. Your first 60 questions, you're going to feel okay. But by question 120, your brain is going to be toast. You start misreading things. You second guess every answer because anxiety is starting to kick in, which is clouding your judgment even more. You're no longer fighting the questions. You're fighting your own exhausted mind. Avoiding full-length timed practice exams is a direct result of not taking the environment of the exam seriously. It's a symptom of the same core problem. You're underestimating what a unique beast the PMP exam really is. Now, how do you fix this? How do we break free of some of these problems? First, it starts with rewiring your brain to think the way PMI thinks. And to help you do just that, I've developed a PMP exam prep email course. This course is built around micro-learning and provides daily emails that'll take your PMP exam prep to the next level. And if you're really eager, it comes in a way to fast forward through those emails. The link is right at the top of the description below. It's seriously a powerful tool, so start making a change in your study strategy. Highly recommend you pick it up. Again, just go look for the description below. Now, let's talk about how to rewire your brain. You have the knowledge, you just need to use it in the right way. So here's the 3-step process to rewire your brain for PMP success. First, consciously become the PMI persona. From now on, every time you open a study guide or do a practice question, you are no longer you. You are playing the role, the PMI persona. This persona works for a big, mature company where all PMI processes are followed perfectly. You have the time, the money you need, your stakeholders are reasonable, your sponsor is supportive. When a problem comes up, you never take a shortcut. You always follow the processes. You analyze first, then you act. You meet, you plan, you document. You have to shut down that little voice inside your head that says, but that's not what I do in real life. Who cares what you do for this exam? It matters what the PMI persona would do. This conscious shift is the single biggest change you can make to ensure that you pass your PMP. Step 2 is you need to master the full-length simulators. You must, and I mean you must complete at least 2 or 3 180 question exams. Again, You don't have to do it in the 230-minute timed exam timeline, but you want to train as close as possible. 60 questions, small break, 60 questions, small break, 60 questions. Ideally, you do that all in 230 minutes. But if you have to do it over the course of 360 minutes or what, I can't do the math in my head right now, but focus on making sure that you hit those 60 question time blocks without interruptions. No phones, no pausing the timer. Treat it like the real deal. This will do two critical things. It's going to build up your mental stamina that you need to fight and stay sharp for the hours on the exam, and it helps you perfect the internal pacing clock that you need to get through each question, because you're going to know how long it takes you to get through those 60 questions in the allotted time you need. And the most important part is after each simulation, you have to spend hours reviewing every single question, not just the ones you got wrong. I like to preach a 2-to-1 ratio. You should spend 2 minutes for every 1 minute you spent on every question, right or wrong. If you got it right, great. Why did you get it right? Did you guess or did you actually know? And if you got it wrong, why did you get it wrong? What was the right answer? What tripped you up? If you do that after every practice exam, after every question, you're going to do phenomenally better on your exam. And step 3, you got to learn to deconstruct each question. Stop reading the scenario questions as a big wall of text. Start breaking them down like an engineer. When you see a scenario, ask 3 questions in this order. What's the actual problem? Under all the fluff, because remember, those questions are going to be full of information that doesn't matter. I always like to tell people, start with the last sentence. Where are you? What comes next? What does the project manager do? Know what you're going to actually be doing. Then read the question. Analyze what process group are you in? Initiating, planning, executing, monitor, control, closing. Figure out where you are in the project. Then what knowledge area are you talking about? Scope, schedule, risk. What are you looking at? And then finally, based on all that, think about what would the perfect PMI project manager do next? Go answer through answer. Look at each one. Don't jump on the first one that sounds great. Read the rest because one might sound actually better. You usually can break it down to at least 2 of the 4 as the right answer. Then apply those mindsets. Apply the fact that you are you are not a real world project manager, but you are a real PMI persona, and answer the question accordingly. This whole process forces you into a logical process first PMI mindset to make sure that you are reacting and analyzing the questions to the way that PMI wants to see it. So I hope you see through all of this that failing the PMP is rarely about not knowing enough information. It's about having the wrong perspective. It's the silent trap that's leaning on your own experience in a test that demands you to follow a theoretical idea. It's the fallout from a trap, choosing shallow memorization over deep understanding and being too afraid to face a full simulated exam. But the great news is you can beat that. You have the project management knowledge. You've put in the work. Now you just need to add that final critical layer of strategy. Put on the persona, build up your endurance with those simulators, and learn to deconstruct the questions. You are more capable of passing the exam if you do that. And don't let the hidden traps that I discussed earlier be what stands in your way of meeting your goal. Now, if this video helped and gave you that aha moment, do me a huge favor, hit the like button because it helps my channel stand out, and be sure to subscribe to get more straight to the point tips around project management, risk management, and leadership. And if you really liked what I had to talk about, head to 44riskpn.com, go to the calendar of events and find one of my upcoming PMP exam prep courses, or schedule a call with me so that way we can talk about where you're at and how to get you where you need to be. And don't forget to check out this video on the 5 harsh truths for PMs. I'm Russ Parker, the Bearded PM, out.